Morning everyone, it's Danny here from the Young Family Homestead. Today we're going to be building a garden bed and we're going to show you guys how to do it at your place. So we're going to be discussing how I built it, what I built it out of, how you should fill it. Stay tuned and we'll show you how we built it. Alright, so to start off with, we've already half filled this bed here with, so we'll go through that in a minute. First of all, I want to show you guys what I used to build it. We used a lot of stuff that we had sitting around. To start with, we had these pine posts. So these pine posts here are just sitting around from old garden bed edging. I kept them around because I thought there would be something one day that I'd be able to use them for. And today, well, not today, sorry, yesterday was that day where I utilized them. I cut these in half and just used them as the corner posts. So there was one here, and if you go all the way down this end, another one here, and another one here. The next thing was to use what to use for the sides. So I didn't have any tin sitting around here, and I needed to go out and buy some. There's a lot of people that want an extraordinary amount for secondhand tin. So I searched and searched and searched for a fair while. I was looking, and I came up with a guy that was in Birawa, I believe, in the Glasshouse Mountains there, and he has a scrapyard where he had some old tin, all the same tin from a house that was demolished. He was selling this tin for $4 per lineal meter. So I bought a ton. I bought like 20 sheets at 3.6 meters each. So, but that for $4 per linear meter he was charging. So where other people were charging nearly $10 per lineal meter, which is absurd for secondhand tin with some holes in it. Anyway, it just goes to show, if you search and search, you can find what you're looking for. You just need to spend the time looking for it. This garden bed is 7.5 meters long by 70 centimeters deep. There's a few reasons why I've made it that long and only that deep, but for starters, we're just going to go through this garden bed and we'll explain that later on. Now, having something so long, we've got it supported at the back. So we've got our fence posts that support the back of the garden bed all the way along. And I've just screwed it directly to those posts there. That's what's supporting the back wall. And there's actually nothing for us to screw the front wall to. So what we've done is put some bracing along it through the center there, and that's I feel like that's going to that'll do the job. That makes it'll stop the bed from wanting to bow out once the bed's actually full of material. Another thing that I needed to take into consideration was that the ground that we're on is not exactly level. We're actually building on a bit of a mound here, and it's right next to the house, so we've also got to be careful that we don't build too close to the house, because we don't want to encourage rot in underneath the house or anything like that. So that's why we've sort of built it there instead of closer to the house. So yeah, when we built this bed, we got the level out. This is one of the main reasons I didn't record it. I was actually teaching my son how to use a level. So what I did was made sure the top of this was level and the front was the same height as the back. And as you can see down the bottom here, the tin that I've used only goes down so far because I only used one sheet of the tin. But what I actually have filled the garden bed at the bottom with is some logs and things. We'll go through that in a moment. But yeah, as you can see, this end of the garden bed is actually raised up a lot higher than that end over there. So what I plan on doing in the long run will probably be put some pavers along here just for a little bit of an edging, and I plan on painting or decorating this whole thing later on with the kids. So that'll be a good little fun adventure thing for them to be included in. I still have a lot to do and a lot of filling to do in this garden bed. I went out this morning and got a heap of forest mulch, and I've gotten about halfway through it, emptying it now. So I need to get that all done by the end of today. Alrighty, so next off is what we filled the bed with. What I did originally was, along the base of the garden bed, I put logs and sticks and palm fronds, the palm leaves. That's what I put on in the bottom of this. So once I put all that on the ground, then I layered a heap of cardboard that we had sitting around. So there was a heap of cardboard that otherwise would have ended up in landfill or in our recycling bin and ended up recycled somewhere else. Why not use it here, right? So we got a heap of the cardboard, and just there was enough cardboard sitting around to layer this whole thing. That'll also help with keeping the weeds and grass or whatever from growing up through the garden bed. It'll create somewhat of a barrier there, and it'll just keep on adding nutrients to the soil year after year after year. Then after I've layered the cardboard, as you can see there's some cardboard just there still, I went and got a cube and a half of forest mulch. So that cost, I think it was $35 for a cube and a half. Alrighty, so another question that I wanted to answer here was, how big should you build your bed, your garden bed? That really depends on what you plan on growing and the space that you have for your garden bed. So I actually plan on growing a whole range of different things in here, not too crazily, because we do have the electric fence that is running directly behind there that we want to make sure that none of the plants are touching that and it's grounding out. So we want sort of stuff, low-lying sort of things like strawberries, maybe a chili bush, some herbs and bits and pieces like that. Nothing crazy big like corn or tomatoes or any of that sort of stuff. We might plant a couple of tomatoes in here this year and really keep on top of them, so we're going to get a lot of tomatoes rather than a lot of green leafy foliage. How you should gauge your garden, I believe, is what's right for you. I've built raised garden beds in the past where instead of using a whole sheet of tin, I've only used half, like I've cut along the center, right? So it's only half as deep, which is a benefit because you only have to fill up half as much, so you don't have to spend so much money on creating the body of your garden bed. But the downside to that is you have to lean right down or work down on your knees rather than working at waist height. So working at waist height is ideal, I guess, for a lot of scenarios. My wife's pregnant. For you guys that are new to the channel and haven't seen previous videos, we've done a video on, yeah, she's pregnant. She's halfway through now, so yeah, but for this particular garden bed, we chose to use one full panel for a couple of reasons. One is when we used only half the tin, our Bonnie the Beagle, our dog, she was forever in the garden eating the strawberries. Chickens were always in the garden eating strawberries, and what I really wanted to achieve this time was a more, it's just easier to work at waist height here rather than bending down and putting it all that strain on your back. Now, the next question would be, what should you use to fill your garden bed? Well, this year is the first year that I'm experimenting with the mushroom compost and the forest mulch, but once I've put all this forest mulch down in here, I plan on putting a heap more mushroom compost on top of that. So this forest mulch is more so just so we've got something in there to break down over time, and it'll keep the worms and all the microbes in there a lot busier. And you can already, in this forest mulch, it's already breaking down. I mean, there's some really nice looking stuff happening there. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen here in the long run. I feel like we're going to encourage a good garden bed with a lot of worms in there. It's really up to you, you know. In the past, I've used cow manure, chicken manure, sheep manure, hay, sugarcane mulch, and I layer everything when it's in there, so I don't mix it all through. I layer everything when it's in there. Things to consider when building this garden bed. As I said before, you really want to consider your height that you're working at. Some people have nice sprightly backs and some people don't. So if you're building this for someone else as well, it's sort of, you really want to take the height into consideration. And you also want a big thing that I've learned in the past is I've always made my garden beds too deep. So I've had to really reach over into the back or get into the garden bed itself. And it's not as enjoyable as it could be. So in this case, I've made the garden bed 70 centimeters deep, or 700 mil, and that's quite easy. I can quite easily reach to the back of that bed, and that was the main reason, is I don't want to have to struggle to reach to the back of the bed. And the kids on a little stool here, they can reach to the back of the bed or jump in it if they really wanted to, which they probably will. All up, this whole garden bed completed under 250 bucks. Anyway, I gotta get to filling up this garden bed with all that stuff before it rains, because it is hot and it feels like it's stormy weather. So I'm hoping that I can get it done before then. What I might do is maybe set you guys up for a little bit of a time lapse over there and see if it's any easier for you guys watching it than it is me actually doing it. Alright guys, so that's pretty much that for this vlog. If you've liked the content, give us a big thumbs up. If you found it useful or any of that sort of stuff, leave us a comment and let us know. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and you'll see more of this sort of content along with chickens and all other kinds of homesteading and farming activities. So yeah, until the next one, I'll see you then. Bye.